So this week on this channel, I was late with the poem because, it's not like I've truly set a schedule for this channel, but in my mind, I'm thinking that I'd like to have a poem up either Wednesday or I'll say Wednesday afternoon to early Thursday. But yeah, it's just a busy week for me. And then also I was really kind of mulling over different ideas for the poem. But the reason I'm pointing out the poem is because I've decided that sometimes I do want the poem that I do to connect to either the relationship talk or the real talk for the same week. And there might even be weeks where it's the same basic topic for all three videos, but focusing on different aspects of it, of course. So for this week, I did a poem called Shallow, which if you haven't checked it out, please make sure that you do so. And I want to talk about that as it relates to relationships as well. And, for starters, I don't think it's fair to say that somebody is shallow just because they point out that they like somebody's appearance, that they're attracted to certain physical aspects, because we all are. I mean, that's a very human thing. And when you're just getting to know somebody, I mean, the main thing that you know up front is what somebody looks like, unless it's somebody that you meet online and they just have an avatar, and that's that's a whole different thing about the world that we live in today. But for the most part, when we first meet somebody, I mean, all we know is what they look like. So of course, we're basing our attractiveness off of that, but then it does go deeper than that, though, of course. And obviously, looks are not everything. Looks fade. Those are things that are often said that are very true. So I think it's really a problem when anybody, whether it be man or woman, feels that they're good to go just because they look good. Like, some people basically, they don't try to develop a personality, really. I mean, they almost cripple themselves because they're so focused on their appearance. I mean, what's the value in a person if they might have they might be attractive, they might look good, but you can't even have an intelligent conversation with them. I mean, they're absolutely boring to be around. And that's something that I've really noticed, and I've had to learn over time, is that, especially, I'll say this, like, spending a short amount of time around somebody, that's different. But if you're talking relationship and you spend a lot of time around somebody, if somebody is a shallow person, they are so boring. And that's what's really turned me off to, certain women that I had been attracted to in the past, is just because when I do try to get into a deeper level with them and try to talk intelligently and they can't really respond, it's just, I'm like, it's just so boring. It's so uninteresting. And, when it comes to looks as well, I mean, there are plenty of good looking people. That's not going to hold anybody for long. And I'll say, especially when it comes to women need to pay attention to this, because, in fact, let me focus on the black community for a moment here. I actually saw a statistic one time, and I don't know if it's completely legitimate, but I would say that it's got to be close when you really think about it. And basically it said that for every single black male, there are at least 6 single black women. And of course we're talking about, straight people there. But I mean, you look at the number of black men that are locked up or DL or whatever it may be, yeah, there really is small numbers in the grand scheme of things. And then also you have to look also at some black men that choose to only date outside of the race, for whatever their reasons may be. So yeah, I think that the number of black males is very limited. And some women feel that they can have nasty attitudes, or they can just be boring basically just because they look good. And no, that's not going to keep a man around. Me personally, I don't care what a woman looks like. I'm not putting up with a nasty attitude, because there's so many women out there. It's like, why would I put up with that? If you think that you can be rude to me and you can't even speak intelligently to me, I don't need you. That's really all there is to it. And it's something that I've had to learn over time, that to really recognize that sooner and sooner, because I guess as anybody gets older, you start to think more long term about, is there a relationship there? Can there be anything? And if there's not, you really should dip out a lot earlier as opposed to waiting till later. Because if it's not going anywhere, time gets to be more precious the older you get. So that's the way that I really look at it. I have no time for a shallow individual. I'm not going to waste my time with that. And like I said, with appearance and physical attractiveness, all of that, yes, those things, they can be nice, but I think good conversation means a lot more. It's sad to me sometimes when I'm out and about, and I might even be out having a bite with a friend at a restaurant or whatever, and I look around, I see couples that aren't really speaking to each other. Couples that might be on they're looking at their cell phone like the whole time. It's like they have nothing to say to each other. And that's just sad to me. Even if I think it's okay sometimes to talk about things that are just day-to-day things like what's going on in the news, what's going on with celebrities. Some of that's okay. Talking about your job, although you don't want to like overkill on that because of course that can get boring too. But yeah, I think the more that you actually exercise your mind, the more that you can provide in a relationship, and that means a lot. That's what really maintains relationships. Looks are not going to maintain a relationship. Sex appeal is not going to maintain a relationship. And just look at how many celebrities there are, gorgeous people that have been cheated on or had relationships that lasted like no time. It's because it's not all about looks. And I feel that women very often try to criticize men for just, saying that men only care about looks and men only care about a woman's body. Not nonsense. Now, of course, men are attracted to those things, and yeah, men might like that for one night. Not taking that home to mama, though. I mean, there's got to be more there. And something that I noticed also sometimes women kind of answer their own questions, and I know it sounds like I'm beating up on women, but obviously some of these things do apply to men as well. But obviously, since I'm a man, I'm focusing on, women, things that I noticed there. So, I've heard many women say they don't understand why it is when they go out in public and they just have their hair in a ponytail, they don't have makeup on, they might be wearing sweats or, just something simple, they get more attention from men than when they're made up. And I'm just like, that should tell you something, that men aren't all about, we're not all about that. I've never felt like I need to be with this woman because, ooh, she put a black line around her mouth and she painted in the red just perfect. Ooh, you're like, no, that means nothing to me. I don't care about a woman that takes the time to put on like 5 different shades, above her eyes. I don't care. And like, oh, she's got this like metal armband that's like cutting off her circulation. Like, oh, no, I don't care. That stuff means nothing to me. And I remember I talked to a woman briefly. It's like at a friend's house. He had a friend, some friends come through. And I was talking to this woman, and I don't know how we got on the topic, but we were talking about different things that women like to do. And she's like, you don't care about like how a woman does her nails, and like she had her nails all fancy and stuff. And I was like, no, why would I care? I almost feel like, and nothing homophobic or anything, but I'm just like, if I'm a guy and I'm really focusing on how your nails are done, how your toes are done and all this and that, maybe I'm not a guy that you need to be with, because that's kind of weird to me if a guy really is obsessing over those things. Like I know obviously any man wants his woman to look good and to keep herself up, but there's some stuff that women do that I look at it like it's not really for men. It's like you're doing it for each other, like you're trying to outdo other women. And yeah, that means there's so much stuff that women do that means nothing to men, because we're not as shallow as women try to make us out to be. We do like a woman, of course, to look good, like to look cute. Like, you don't have to be all made up, though. That really is not what matters. It's, again, so much about conversation and also having a good sense of humor. And something else that's frustrating, dealing with people that are basically shallow, sometimes you can't even joke with them because they don't get it. Like, if you have to explain every joke that you share with somebody, either your sense of humor is terrible or that person is just not intelligent enough. They're not thinking enough to even get what you have to say, which can be so frustrating. So, something else I want to say too, again, and I think this is very hypocritical. And again, I see this mainly happen with women. Okay, so women will get upset when a man leaves them or cheats on them, and it's not even so much about being left or the cheating. It's the the fact that, in fact, let me mainly focus on, well, I'll say it does apply to both. Okay, when a man moves on and he's dealing with somebody else, women get especially upset if the other woman doesn't look as good as they look. And I'm just thinking, why does that matter? That, again, very shallow attitude. And again, that should tell you it's not all about appearance. Men want to be with somebody long term, somebody that's actually interesting to be with. Now, like I already said, men, of course, you will see men that'll get with somebody just based off of looks, but it's not gonna last. I mean, it's just not. And it goes both ways. I think a woman may get with the guy just because she thinks he's very attractive, but again, it's not gonna last long term if there's no depth to the relationship. If you can't have intelligent conversations, if you don't have your own philosophies about things, and also, I'll say this too. Something I notice about people that are basically shallow and they really haven't developed much of a personality, there are one of two things that they will do. Either they always agree with you because they really can't think of anything else to do, which again, that's boring. It's like talking to yourself, basically, if somebody's always agreeing with you. And then you'll have some people that always challenge you, no matter what you say, no matter how sensible it is, because the only way they know how to keep a conversation going is by challenging you constantly. And that's no good either, because then it's stressful. And I've had people challenge me on things that are just so simple and so basic, and I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. Like, why would you disagree with that? And I'm like, what is your viewpoint then? And it's like, I just don't agree. I hate that when somebody can't even say why they feel the way they do. They're disagreeing just for the sake of disagreeing, because they don't know how any other way to keep the conversation moving. Now, I think that when you have two intelligent people together, there's going to be times where they agree, there's going to be times where they disagree. That's natural. But if it's always one way, then obviously that's either going to be boring or it's going to be stressful. So, again, people that focus all about, they make everything about their appearance, I think they tend to be very boring individuals. They don't really develop a personality enough. They may not develop their talents. They may not, like I said, I keep coming back to philosophies, because that's what I really appreciate. I really like when, I'm getting to know a woman and she has certain viewpoints that I've never thought about before, and it makes me look at things in a different way. I appreciate that so much more than somebody just spitting cliches at me. Because I've actually dealt with some women before where it's like I just get so bored with them, because all they're doing is saying what everybody else says. They're just repeating things that they've heard thousands of times. And it's like, why would I want to be with somebody when you're pretty much the same as all of your friends? Like, everybody you're the same as them. I might as well throw a rock and just choose one of them. If you have nothing original, nothing unique about you, why would I want to be with you? And I'll say this, and I'm probably going to leave it at this. I don't want this to be too long of a video, but I was getting to know a woman years ago, and then I realized, like, she really there was nothing there. She was very hollow, all she did was speak in cliches, and it got to the point where I finally asked her, I was like, what makes you special? What is unique about you? And she got offended, and not only did she get offended, she wouldn't answer the question, and I don't think she didn't answer the question because she was offended. I think it was more that she didn't know what was special about her. She didn't know what was unique about her. For me personally, I would never get offended by that question. If somebody asks me what makes me special, what makes me unique, I'm just going to give you an answer. That's all there is to it. I will let you know that, I feel like I'm a very observant person, and I like to be creative. I like to write poetry, all these different things about myself. I'll just answer the question. It's not a question I get offended by. So I feel like if somebody gets offended by that question, then more than likely they just haven't really developed a personality. They're just getting by, on physical things. And they may not be like a gorgeous person or whatever, but still they're just assuming that they can just get by because of the way that they look. And before I wrap it up, I do want to connect this a little bit more to the poem real quick. Because the way I started off the poem, I talked about things like, just different attributes that people, I think, should have. People should be, outgoing and adventurous and deep thinkers and everything. Those things are important. And some people, they really don't have that, and it's just so sad to me, and I'll say for any woman, I got to point this out again, for any woman thinking that she can get by just because of her looks or just because of what she can provide physically for a man, again, it's really nothing special. That is so easy to come by because, as I've already pointed out, the numbers, they're really just not in women's favors. You really got to keep stressing that the numbers are really not in women's favors. And it's not just the black community. In general, the numbers are not in women's favor. So a guy really doesn't have to deal with a woman that's boring and has nothing to bring to the table. So, yeah, I mean, ladies can get mad about that and ignore me and say you don't know what you're talking about, but when it happens to you and you get left because you don't have anything interesting to provide, then it is what it is. And of course, I'm not just pointing out women, though. I will say it. I know that there are some men that waste them too. There are some guys that assume that they can get by just off of their looks or just off of their money, whatever it may be. And again, that's not going to be something that'll last long term. So yeah, that's what it's really about. If you want a long-term relationship, you have to develop yourself as a person. You cannot be shallow. You cannot be all about your looks. I'm telling you, it's just not going to last. So, as always, I definitely want to hear from you all what you think about this topic. And also, if you've had this situation before, have you dealt with somebody who initially you were very attracted to, and then as things went along, you realized there was no depth to that person. There was no depth at all. So, yeah, I really want to hear about your experiences, just your thoughts in general about the topic. And like I said, if you haven't checked out the poem, please make sure that you do so. I really appreciate that. Make sure you like, comment, share. That'd be awesome as well. And subscribe if you are new. But yeah, that's it for now. Look forward to checking out your thoughts. And you all take care. Till next time.